Every professional has a unique magic waiting to be discovered. At Finding the Unicorn in You helps you unlock your hidden potential. Thank you for tuning in. Now switching it over to our host.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Finding the Unicorn in You. Today, I have a special guest who is a certified life and longevity coach, helping men 50 and plus unlock their full potential in all areas of life. His signature coaching system builds upon the principles of inner balance and a healthy lifestyle to help you reach your desired goals. Without further ado, welcome David Ito.
Yes, thank you, Jaime. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast.
Of course. So, first of all, did I say your last name correctly? Ito? Ito?
It's Ito. It's Japanese name. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So David
Yeah.
Ito. Okay, perfect. So tell me a little bit about, like, for our listeners, what is a longevity coach? And then what attracted you to start this?
All right. So basically, a longevity coach is a new niche within, you could call it wellness coaching or health coaching. I'm 51. And when I turned 50, that's when I started realizing that I'm not the only one probably out there who is starting to notice the signs of aging. So I have a background in public health and nutrition, and I've been working as a yoga teacher. I've been working as a wellness coach, as a life coach. And one thing led to another. And eventually I realized that what I really like is to help people improve their quality of life and invest in their health span versus longevity, because longevity is more like the number of years you live. Health span is like, how long can you live with relatively good health? So everybody wants that. I bring a holistic approach towards that. So it's about looking at your entire life. So like life coaches also typically look at the entire aspects or elements in life. And so I focus more on science-based facts and techniques, systems to help us stay healthier for longer. And it's still a relatively new science behind longevity. There are neuroscientists and molecular biologists and like a whole bunch of people who are really focusing on longevity these days. For me to bring this longevity coaching is a very novel and recent thing. And yeah, so I'm loving doing that. What else can I tell you? I'm originally from Spain. As I said, my family name is Japanese, so Japanese ancestry on my father's side. I live in New York City. I'm a gay man. I'm married, and I can't wait to tell you about my unicorn story because I believe we're going to be talking about that.
Oh, yeah. I'm super excited to dive into that. So, what an impressive background. And longevity is something that has been talked about, I think, for centuries. People always are seeing, like, how can we last longer? How can we make the best out of every age as we go through? And before I even dive into that, you don't look a day over like 40. I was like, he's probably 38, early, maybe 41, 42. So 50.
You're much too kind.
That, and I was like, nah, you're doing whatever you're doing. Obviously, proof is in the pudding. You're doing correctly.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's a really fascinating thing to go into. And that's honestly, one of my biggest fears is I don't mind aging. It's the body decomposition. I fear. I don't want to stop losing my mobility, my mental stability, my quality of life. For people that are fearing these type of things, like what are some things to ease them from that transition?
So I think, not that I want to get too serious, everyone's afraid of death.
Yeah.
I think it's built in our DNA. I think there's very few people out there who's, I'm dead tomorrow. I'm cool with that. Typically, we don't want to die. Typically, we're structured or built, programmed to stay alive, to want to stay alive. So when our bodies start to show the real signs of aging, because we start aging since day zero. I think aging is you're just building up age. Now, so as we hit 40, and I'm talking about guys, some things start to become more noticeable. As we hit 50, more things start to become noticeable. And it's not just the hair loss and the saggy skin, but it's also in the energy and the stamina. It's also in our cognition, is like memory, focus, A lot of people struggle with focus these days. And then you mentioned mobility. A lot of people who don't know how to take care of themselves, they might say, hey, I'm going to the gym. I'm doing my like pumping iron and I'm doing like my high intensity interval training, whatever, but they're not stretching and they're getting maybe potentially stronger, but also tighter. And with that comes reduced range of motion. Tightness goes with pain. As we get older, as the aging process continues, muscles naturally get shorter and tighter. So if we're not able to spend time on lengthening and stretching them, then they're just going to get tighter. So anyway, for people who are worried about their longevity, my message is it's not rocket science. It's about knowing a few things that matter, and all of them require zero money. It's all about changing your lifestyle. It's about spending time practicing certain new habits and removing the bad habits. One of the bad habits is what you and I are doing right now, sitting. We spend so much time sitting on a chair, from the chair to the car, from the car to the sofa, from the sofa to the bed. And maybe if you get a little gym time in, but otherwise, we're sitting way too much. So that's where I tell people we got to move more. One of my key recommendations is movement, cardio, obviously, nutrition, optimal nutrition, detoxification, because we eat a lot of crap and it's not just
Yeah.
for the mouth, it's environmental, the water, the air, the deodorant you use, the laundry detergent, the dish detergent, the pollutants just around us, they are speeding up our aging process. So just knowing, understanding what is aging us faster and removing that, give our bodies healthier food, less processed food, and then moving more, adding cardio to our lives. That in itself is a huge game changer. And I say it from experience because I'm a little bit crazy. I try everything out. It's like the new fad is I'm going to try it out. Try this. I'm going to try it out. I like to try things and notice, honestly, the thing that I've noticed have the biggest, most noticeable impact is exercise every day. It doesn't have to be intense. In fact, they say you don't need, or it's not good to have high intensity training every single day. So it's more low to moderate training, cardio training specifically, better nutrition, more detoxification. And the last one I haven't talked about yet is sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep is an art. Sleep is the science. We think we're resting when we're not. When we go to bed and we've had a few drinks, we don't sleep the same way. We don't get the same bang for our buck for the hours slept. So it's
Yeah.
how to sleep properly. So those three things, through sleep, nutrition, and detoxification and exercise, we can already make a radical change to our longevity, to our health span.
Yeah, like for me, honestly, I think eating the right things because I love myself my tacos, I love myself my burgers, hot dogs. Like it's hard. Like I would crave those greasy foods, but who doesn't? Also,
Right.
big sweet tooth. Like I always have to be munching on something sweet. But sleep is honestly my biggest enemy because like as a person who's neurodivergent with ADHD, it takes me a long time to wind down and get my mind to just shut down so I can go to bed.
Yeah. And honestly, behind the science, and I'm not the one making this up. I'm just learning and studying from the people who are actually scientists and seeing how these lifestyle changes have an effect on their study participants and all the things we're doing so many things wrong, such as like the television and the screens,
Yeah.
watching the news in these day and age where the news are what they are. So we're not making things easy on ourselves. We're not preparing we're not preparing ourselves and our bodies and our minds for restful sleep and creating habits and making sure that we follow like these healthier sleeping protocols. It's not easy because we just give in and There's just too much eye candy out there, and our phones, they are a real problem. So for so many of us,
It is. How many of us don't even, we take our phone, it's a tradition to take our phones to the restroom or to take it before bed. Like everywhere we go, it's just something that it's become part of us. And I think it's hard. Like I've struggled. I've recently put like my desk with my little phone stand and my charger and no longer have my charger next to my bed. So I have to put it where my computer is to charge. And then I go to bed and I'm just like, okay, what do I do? Like I'm just here in silence with my thoughts, and then I'm starting thinking about all the things I have to do and whatnot. I'm just like, you know what's easier if I just go grab my phone?
there are hacks. I could be talking about this forever, but there are hacks. And one of the hacks, or you could call it just a healthier habit, is just knowing what's going to entertain your mind, your brain enough so that you're not going to have that need to look at your phone. For example, play a slow, gentle kind of music that you like. Don't choose something you've never listened to before. It's like, what kind of chill, slow music do you like? Like maybe if you practice yoga, the kind of yoga music they put at the end of a yoga session or something. And you just put that on a playlist and you put it on a timer so that it turns off by itself or something. That's one way. It's just prepare the soundscape to sleep. Another one is things that they use for babies, white noise. I actually use brown noise, which is like white noise, but with the lower frequencies are upped, so it has more of a bit of a rumbling kind of sound. That puts me to sleep. I live in the middle of Manhattan. There are sirens at every minute of the day, and that kind of covers up for a lot of the noise that comes from outside. If you live with people who are still making noise and that distracts you, so having a very gentle layer of that brown noise, podcasts, a lot of podcasts have 12 hours of that on Spotify, etc. You just play it and works great for me. So I got used to that on days that I can't sleep. Is okay. Here we go. Brown noise. And it always works.
That's interesting because I've tried in the past, and now that you mentioned it, I'm like, oh, that actually really worked well for me. There's like green noise, which is like a whole nother like wavelength, but I also tried cafes. So there's like a YouTube channel where all it is like you hear people like in the background with cafes, but it's not like too distinct where you can actually hear a conversation. But it's like when you're having a conversation, everything starts muffling around you.
Yeah.
So it's like that. So it's like you're falling asleep, but it's just like busy noise that kind of helps you drown everything else out and just relax. And that
Mhm.
really did help me.
Yeah. Yeah. And you play around. And not all brown noise are made equal. Not all green noise. You got to look around, shop around, just see the one that works for you. But the problem is, I always come back to this reference, which is like the hamster in the wheel. We keep ourselves way too busy
Oh yeah.
with our days, with all the activities. And then once we're done with work, we pull out our phones and our TVs and our iPads or our tablets. And it's like we give more work to our brains because when you're looking at something, you're processing, whether
Yeah.
it's news, whether you're the swipey kind of content. So our brains are on overdrive. All of a sudden you say, all right, stop, go to bed, no more visual input, no more stimulus. The brain is like, no, wait, you've
Yeah.
been running me like a crazy headless chicken for the entire day. Now you tell me to stop. I can't. I don't know how to do that.
Mm.
So that's where preparing the land for sleep, bringing the lights down, no white lights, yellow lights or warmer lights are better. Just and dim the lights, turn on some very chill music, put yourself horizontally. Those are all things that are gonna prepare you for bed. And you just have to have the will to do that and program yourself to do that.
No, yeah. No, I'm curious about going back to longevity. Being gay men, I noticed that a lot of us struggle with like body dysmorphia. We are hypercritical about the way we act, by the way we show up. And they always say that women are very particular about their partners, gay men are 10 times that. And we are hypercritical when it comes to ourselves and other people like that we like to in our lives. How does that come into play? Do you feel that we are hard on ourselves when it comes to longevity? Like or what has been like your experience with that?
I think that, of course, we can't generalize, but gay, queer men can be quite self-aware in the sense of we want to look good, we want to stay young. But a lot of that is the outer layer, the superficial us. And superficial, physically speaking, the skin, the hair, the body, the clothes, the watch you're wearing, like all the things, the ornaments, all the compliments that we put on ourselves to make ourselves look, we think, better. But for longevity, honestly, it's more on the inside what really matters. Instead of spending so much time on how I look, how good I look, or I don't look. It's more about like, how can I take care of the inside, like skin inwards? How can I take care of that? And a lot of people, a lot of guys have never thought about that. Is, wait, I'm assuming that from skin inwards, everything's going to be running perfectly. So no, what really matters is, for longevity, is what's going inside. I think a lot of guys who are in a self-care journey because they've changed their lifestyle, they've changed their nutrition, gay, queer or not, there's a point in life where we all start to take better care of what we eat, for example. And then the bodies just don't tolerate all that processed food, all that super fatty food. The deep fried food is the devil. And so eventually that shows, like, when you're not digesting well and you're not sleeping well, our skin looks like crap. And now the internal is affecting the external. Like bad hair day, bad skin day, bad eye day, bad this day. It's like, I feel bloated. Oh my God, I feel like I'm 3 sizes larger. So all of a sudden, because we haven't been eating properly, then the outside it starts to look not the way you want. Eventually, I think most of us make some changes, but not everyone. I think we're living in a time where there's a lot of disconnect with our bodies. I think now in psychology and psychiatry, they're actually calling it derealization and depersonalization disorder. It's now an official disorder that has a treatment. And the derealization comes from, it's not real, because we live in a bit of a fantasy world where, like, through screens, everything's a little bit, is it real? I'm looking at this guy through the screen right now. I'm talking to you, Jaime, and I'm looking on my screen on my computer. Like, how real are you really? And so when we spend the entire day not connecting with people in person, in the flesh, psychologically, things start to get mixed. Reality, non-reality,
Yeah.
movie, fiction, work, social media, and then all of a sudden it's like, but it's not real. And that's where ghosting, for example, it becomes a problem. And not just ghosting in like dating sense, but it's ghosting with friends, with family. Like all of a sudden it's like, it's just not real. And then the depersonalization part comes from, I'm so disconnected from my body, my persona. Is like, I don't even take care of it because I'm so focused in the outward, the screens. I'm so focused on external world that I don't even remember that I have a body. So I don't really care about how my body looks because I'm behind a screen. Digital technology, it's great. AI, it's great, but there is a very dangerous side to it. And we can get trapped into that derealization and depersonalization where we just forget about ourselves. And people abandon themselves because they feel like they don't need to take care of themselves.
Yeah. And I think that's where both of our niches overlap, because a lot of people tend to forget what the cause of this decomposition, the cause of the pain, the discomfort that they're feeling. A lot of that is an abundance of stress. It's a lot of not recognizing what your stressors are, just going in day out, letting your body keep getting the beating over and over, letting your mind become overly packed with all of this stress that you don't really realize it until you realize, oh shoot, I don't feel like I can breathe. I feel ill. I feel tired. I feel restless. I'm starting to feel depression, anxiety, all these other things that are causing like our bodies, listen to me. these are my cries of help. I've been sending you the red flags. You're ignoring it. Now look at what you made me do. So with that, what's your perspective of stress and stress regulation when it comes to longevity?
Stress can come from a wide number of issues or experiences or conditions. But one thing that I believe we are not doing right is resting. So coming back to what we were talking about before, when we are not fully rested, we are not our best selves the following day. And with that, cognitively, the brain is tired, the body's tired, then we're more vulnerable to the shocks and the curveballs that life hits us. And what do we tend to do? We caffeinate. We start to compensate by taking all sorts of substances, the caffeines and the Red Bulls and whatever it is that your choice to wake you up. Then it just becomes a kind of a catch-22 vicious circle where we're over caffeinating, which is adding to the stress of life. Our cortisol levels are way too high, our adrenaline is way too high, and then we can't stand we can't fall asleep. And then we sleep less, we rest less, and then the next day and the next day, and it's cumulative. We now know that it's not, I slept this weekend, I slept great. I spent 2 entire days sleeping until late. Yeah, like waking up late, then I'm good, I've recovered. No, that sleep deficiency, actually deficit, runs over time. So this is something that people don't realize, that we're not sleeping enough and we're not sleeping well. When we're over caffeinated, like when we have too much alcohol, the depth of sleep is less. Being able to go into deep sleep, which typically happens within the first 3 to 5 hours of the sleep. If we are not able to get that deep sleep where the brain does its own cleansing, the brain and the body, but specifically the brain needs those moments of deep sleep. And if we miss that time opportunity, you're still going to get sleep. You're going to get light sleep. You're going to get REM, the dreaming kind of sleep. I will have missed out on the brain detoxification and cleansing that happens only in the deep sleep. So you wake up, you said, I slept 7 hours, but it's not the same. It's not, you don't feel as fresh. You feel tired. And then again, you're having to take all these things to wake yourself up. So where do you stop? In the planning. So for stress, of course, there's many different things, but I highly recommend everyone who suffers from stress, from anxiety, take care of your sleep first. Before you take pills, make sure your sleep is optimal. Then, if you need extra help, ask for help. Specialists are out there. And I think asking for help is great. I wish I had asked for help when I was going through a lot of stress and PTSD. And I didn't have those resources because I was doing humanitarian work in Africa, living in some of the most dire contexts, refugee camps and war context. We didn't have access to that kind of psychological support. So unfortunately, that extended over years, and then that PTSD, turned into PTSD that I've carried over. And a lot of the work that I do now is because I've been trying to heal myself from so much stress that I've lived throughout all those years that I spent doing my humanitarian work. But it's work in progress, and I've just noticed simple things, but like sleep, are so powerful, and
Yeah.
most of us fail at that.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like that we're lacking rest. And even when we are resting, we feel guilty about resting. And we need to be able to compartmentalize those things and really do intentional rest, not just because you have to, not because your body's requiring you to, but because you know you deserve it. And being able to change our perspective on that. Now,
Yeah.
we are running out of time, so I want to hop into our last question, which is the unicorn lesson. So I'm curious, and I want the listeners to know, what was the unicorn lesson that pretty much impacted your life the most, that made you the person you are today?
All right, so this is a big question. I'm going to try to be brief. So for me, the unicorn is the symbol of unicorn is a dreamy energy, an energy where everything's possible, an energy where you can shine your colors, an energy where you can be creative. So limitless, judgmentless. So for me, you talked about come to my podcast and finding the unicorn in you. But wait, what's my unicorn? And then I realized as a kid, I had that energy. I was blessed to have that energy as a child, and life, parents, society, they start telling you that's not the right thing. I was a dreaming boy. I would come up with thoughts and ideas. I was daydreaming. I would spend time a lot of time in that as a child. And unfortunately, as I think it happens with a lot of these kind of kids, we're told that's not right. Don't show others. You're going to be judged, criticized, ostracized, prejudiced. I put that aside, but I had that in me. And then there was one moment where that unicorn came back and saved me, which was at a time when I had this dream that I was going to Africa. I was finishing my master's degree. At the time, it was an MBA. And it was like the dreams of no, you don't, that's not the road for you. That's not your journey. Your journey is to go to Africa and do relief work, humanitarian work. Totally not in my wheelhouse. Totally not what my parents wanted. It was like a radically different goal or project. Guess what? I did. I followed my instinct. I dropped the MBA offering and the great job in corporate America that I was offered. And I followed my instinct into this dream situation. And that's how I got started doing the work I did, 15 years working in mostly Africa, Middle East, Southeast Asia, Caribbean. And ever since then, I've gone back to my unicorn is wait, there's this voice inside of me that I can recur to. It's a resource that I have, and I should not be afraid to ask, and I should not be afraid to listen. And to this day, I still do that. I don't call upon my unicorn, but I do call upon my higher self, the energies that govern me, the energies that support me to give me guidance. And I think that if you a suggestion that I have for your viewers and listeners is if you don't be afraid to be different, don't be afraid to shine your colors. The more you allow yourself to be the unicorn, the happier you will be in the future, even if that means that you will be the other, that you will be different. And unfortunately, as kids and teenagers, we don't want to be different. We want to be accepted. But that's maybe another topic for another podcast. Eventually, is don't be afraid of being different. Follow your instinct, follow your energy, follow your dreams. Find people who are like-minded and like-spirited. Find your community, find your tribe. If you have that in you, don't give up on it.
I love that. And it really is what a unicorn. Like when I think of unicorn, I think of unique people who are willing to do what others are not willing to do. It's something you're willing to cross the road less traveled and really try different things. And your story is very inspiring because you went above and beyond and you seeked out way different experiences than the average Joe would ever do. And that transformed your perspective, the way you're approached to handle things, and you bring very unique experiences to the clients that you serve. So it definitely shows that you are a true unicorn and you are living the unicorn life. So I do applaud you for that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, follow your journey, or hire you, how can they do?
All right. So I work, as we said in the intro, I work mostly with men, but not exclusively. Mostly men 50 plus because the longevity coaching that I do which is very much based on my background in science and public health and nutrition. I worked as an epidemiologist for a number of years. Then I became certified as a life coach. So I bring all of that together into longevity coaching. And people can find out more about me in my website, which is coachdavidito.com, ITO. I also have a podcast, which is called Longevity Man Podcast. If you go into my website, coachdavidito.com, there's a direct link to my podcast. I also have a longevity blog. I have run 3 Facebook groups that are all longevity related. One of them is called Mobility and Longevity for Men. Another one is called Beginner Yoga for Men. And the third is 50 Plus Yoga for Men. And so feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from your viewers and listeners, and happy to hop on a call and hear your story, hear your longevity concerns, your health issues. And again, we can do so much with simple but extremely powerful lifestyle changes. And they only require 2 things. 1, information, find out what those things do. And then second, determination. And for determination, you need to want to change. So there you go. Information and determination. Let's leave it at that.
Thank you so much, David. And for listeners, if you liked this episode, you can actually hear more if you hop onto David's podcast. He talks on similar topics, but not only that, I actually guest on his podcast as well. So you can look up that episode and listen to it as well. Reminder for everybody, episodes come out every Friday at 7 a.m. Don't forget to leave us a share and subscribe so that this content continues to go to a lot more of the masses and help people with the lessons that are learned here. And don't feel like you have to write everything down and pause and write all the links down. If you scroll down to the show notes, you'll see all of David's information along with the links. And you can go to my website at rainbowcareercoaching.com, go to the Unicorn Wall of Fame. You'll see David on there along with all my other guests that have come on here with a blog on a little bit more about him, what he talked about today, and his links there as well. Any last words, David, before we close out?
No, that's it. Thanks so much for inviting me. Maybe we all connect to our inner unicorn and keep up with the great work that you're doing, Jaime.
Thank you so much. And until next time, everyone.